The window with the blue curtains. Part 1. The silence on the second floor. The house was quiet in the way only old houses could be, thick with memory, hollowed by time. Emma stood at the front door, suitcase in hand, unsure if she was ready to come inside. It had been nearly 20 years since she last called this house home. But now she was back, not for the holidays, not for a visit, but to stay. 3 weeks earlier, her mother had fallen in the garden. A neighbor had found her, confused and barefoot, mumbling about missing keys and stars that didn't shine. The doctors called it late-stage Alzheimer's. Her mother could no longer live alone. Emma hadn't planned to come back. But her lease in the city was ending, her job was slipping away, and the relationship she once hoped would be forever had ended quietly in a coffee shop one rainy afternoon. There was nothing keeping her. So she came home. The house still smelled faintly of cedar and something sweet, maybe lavender. She wandered through the rooms, noting how little had changed. The old clock still ticked unevenly in the hallway. The sun still poured into the kitchen at exactly 9 a.m. And on the second floor, the back bedroom still wore its blue curtains like a memory held too tightly. Emma didn't sleep in that room at first. She chose the couch instead, leaving the TV on low volume at night to drown out the quiet. But even the television couldn't soften the creak of old floorboards, or the distant ache of returning to a life she had once left behind. She spent the first few days cleaning, not because it needed it, but because it gave her something to do. She organized drawers, wiped down surfaces, swept the garden path. But no matter how much she worked, she couldn't scrub away the weight of everything this house held. Then on the fourth evening, while digging through a kitchen drawer, she found a folded slip of paper. It was her mother's handwriting.
If you find this, I hope it means you came home. I hope you give the house a chance to speak to you. It remembers everything we loved.
Emma read it 3 times. Her chest tightened. Her mother must have written it years ago, before the forgetting began, before the silence grew so large between them. That night, she climbed the stairs with the note in her hand. She opened the door to the back bedroom. The curtains swayed softly in the open window. The bedspread had faded, but the air felt like a whisper from another time. Emma didn't unpack. She didn't change the sheets. She simply lay down and let herself feel everything she'd been trying to hold back. And for the first time since she returned, she slept. Part 2. The cup in the garden. The morning light filtered through the kitchen window, casting soft gold across the floor. Emma stood barefoot, fingers curled around a warm mug of tea. The note she had found the night before, her mother's words, still sat on the counter where she'd left it. She had read it again the moment she woke, hoping it would feel different in daylight. It didn't. It felt heavier. After breakfast, she wandered into the backyard. The garden had once been her mother's pride. Neat rows of herbs, bright tulips in spring, rose bushes that arched along the fence line. Now it was wild and overgrown, but still beautiful in a forgotten sort of way. Mint pushed up between the flagstones, and a stubborn sunflower stretched above the weeds like it refused to be ignored. Emma crouched near a pile of fallen leaves and noticed something buried beneath them. She brushed the debris aside and uncovered an old teacup, weathered but still intact, a faint flower pattern clinging to its surface. Inside the cup were dried lavender buds, long faded, their scent barely lingering. She smiled faintly. Her mother used to leave little things in the garden. Teacups filled with lavender, jars of sugar water for bees, notes tied to string. Emma used to think it was strange. Now it felt like a breadcrumb trail she hadn't realized she'd needed. She brought the cup inside, washed it carefully, and placed it on the windowsill beside her mug. It felt right there, like a hello from someone who was still here in ways she hadn't noticed. Later that afternoon, Emma visited the nursing home. Her mother sat by the window, staring out at a tree just beginning to turn yellow with the season. "Hi, Mom," Emma said gently as she approached. Her mother looked at her, but didn't respond right away. Then she smiled faintly. "Do I know you?" Emma hesitated, her heart folding in on itself. "I think you used to," she said, sitting beside her. Her mother nodded slowly, as if accepting a truth she didn't understand. They sat in silence for a while. Emma didn't try to force conversation. She simply offered presence. At one point her mother spoke.
There was a girl, she used to dance in the garden. Barefoot. Wild hair.
Emma blinked. That was me. Her mother didn't react. She just kept looking at the tree. On the drive home, Emma thought about the teacup. About the lavender. About the way her mother had once known everything. Where every item was kept, every flower's name, every page in a recipe book. Now she seemed adrift, a ghost in her own mind. That night, while clearing the hall closet, Emma found another note. This one was tucked between two books of pressed flowers. The handwriting was still her mother's, though shakier than before.
Some things will fade. But not you. You are the one thing I hope I always remember.
Emma sank to the floor. She read the note again and again. It felt like a promise sent through time. A reminder that even in the forgetting, love had tried to leave markers behind. Before bed, she took the note upstairs and taped it gently to the inside of the closet door. Then she opened the window wide and let the breeze touch her face. The blue curtains fluttered, and for the first time, they didn't feel like something from the past. They felt like something still alive. Part 3. The letter she never sent. A week after finding the teacup, Emma climbed up into the attic. The house had slowly started to feel less like a stranger and more like an old friend. Quiet, comforting, a little dusty around the edges. The attic was just as she remembered, wooden beams, faded trunks, and the soft smell of cedar and mothballs. She wasn't looking for anything in particular, just following a feeling. Near the back, under a quilt folded neatly in a crate, she discovered an old shoebox tied with twine. She sat on the floor and opened it slowly. Inside were envelopes, dozens, each one addressed to her in her mother's handwriting. The first letter was dated the day she left for college.
You looked so ready this morning. I didn't want to hold you back, but all I wanted was to grab your hand and say, stay. I didn't. I just waved. I made your bed after you left. I stood in your room and cried into your pillow. I think I miss you already.
Another letter came from the year after.
You called to say you'd been promoted. I was proud. I didn't say so on the phone, I never know when to say it. I baked your favorite pie that night anyway. You didn't know. I wish you had.
Letter after letter unfolded like pages of a hidden diary. Snapshots of Emma's life seen through her mother's quiet eyes. She hadn't been distant out of indifference. She had just been quiet out of fear, of saying the wrong thing, of not knowing how to say the right one. Emma stayed in the attic for hours, the sun slanting across the floorboards, letters strewn around her like petals. She had never felt more known, or more loved. That evening, she placed the letters in a drawer in the bedroom and lit a candle beside them. Then she stepped outside, walked barefoot into the overgrown garden, and stood beneath the magnolia tree. It was time to remember with tenderness, not pain. Part 4. The day she remembered. The sky was pale and cloudless the day Emma returned to the nursing home. She carried a small notebook, the kind her mother once used for recipes. Inside it were pages Emma had started writing, reflections, memories, fragments of healing. Her mother sat by the window as usual. But today something in her posture seemed brighter. "Morning, Mom," Emma said softly. Her mother turned, eyes slowly focusing.
You look just like her, she murmured.
Emma smiled. That's probably because I am her. There was a beat of stillness. Then, like a spark catching wind, her mother's eyes lit up.
Emma?
Tears filled Emma's eyes. Yes. Her mother reached for her hand.
I knew I'd remember you someday.
They sat together, fingers entwined, neither needing to say much. Her mother spoke in fragments, about the garden, about the blue curtains, about Emma's childhood laugh. She was drifting, but she was also here, if only for a little while. Emma pulled out the notebook and handed it to her. I've been writing to you, like you used to write to me. Her mother held the notebook like it was made of glass. She turned a few pages, her lips trembling.
I never wanted to forget. Not you.
I know, Emma whispered. Before she left, they shared tea and silence. The kind of silence that no longer felt empty. It felt whole. In the hallway, the nurse stopped her. She remembered your name today. That hasn't happened in a while. Emma smiled, blinking away tears. It's okay if she forgets tomorrow. Today was enough. Part 5. The light through the curtains. Autumn painted the world gold and crimson. Emma raked the garden each morning, careful not to disturb the tiny tulip bulbs she had planted beneath the magnolia tree. She had added a bench there, where she often sat and wrote. Sometimes to herself, sometimes to her mother, sometimes to no one at all. The blue curtains still fluttered in the bedroom window. She had thought once about replacing them, but changed her mind. They had become part of the story. They had seen both sorrow and healing. One evening, while sorting through her mother's recipe tin, she found one final note tucked behind an index card for lemon shortbread.
If you're reading this, it means you stayed. Thank you for loving me even when I forgot. Thank you for finding me again. I hope the curtains still dance in the light.
Emma pressed it to her chest. Then she folded her own letter, written that morning, and slipped it beneath the teacup in the garden. You didn't fail. You just loved in silence. And I see you now. I always will. That night, she sat by the window, tea in hand, the blue curtains drifting softly in the breeze. The house no longer felt like a place she had returned to. It felt like home. She was not the girl who had run away. She was not the woman who came back broken. She was someone new. Someone whole. She had stayed. She had listened. She had let the light come in.